Although unemployment has fallen slightly, but it is still relatively high according to world standards. Compared to a year ago, total employment increased by 1.5 million people. Sectors that recorded job increases were the formal and informal, with 235,000 and 6,000 jobs respectively. Losses were observed in private households and agricultural sectors in Q3 of this year. Recruitment agency InspHired says the labour market and hiring trends have changed and been made even worse by the pandemic.
Current trends in the market is you'll see that there's certain industries that are booming at the moment. For example, IT is booming, sales is booming. So we do see that at the moment. But we also see a little bit of a change in the employment and the way it's done. For example, COVID has changed a lot of things. You'll see that COVID has shifted our perspective in terms of looking at the way we work and the well-being and putting a perspective there. So you'll see that there's been a change there. You'll also notice things like in Gauteng, you'll find a lot of employment activity and recruitment activity happening in Gauteng. There's a little bit less in maybe Durban and outskirts or Cape Town areas, so you'll see that.
According to economic analysis from Nedbank, the outlook for the job market remains uncertain given the prevailing headwinds. The bank highlights adverse labour market conditions, including frequent labour strikes, high wage demands, high input costs and power shortages that continue to discourage private sector investment and, as a result, constrain job creation. The Recruitment Agency of South Africa agrees with the sentiment, saying while there are a lot of inquiries from job seekers, but it is relatively subdued on the employer side. And as the year draws to a close, recruiters share winning tips for job seekers for the coming year.
You know, your CV is your first impression of you. It's the first impression that a recruiter gets and a possible employee gets from you. So spend some time in it. Throw yourself into it. Little tips of the trade as well. If you want to put a photo, you can. Just be mindful of it being more professional based as well. If you want to present your experience as well, make sure that you present your most recent experience and present it in a chronological order from there, from the recent. If you want to include things like references, you're welcome to do so, but we rather say leave it off and put, say, for example, upon request. And then if the recruiter or the agency or the employee asks for it, then you can give it to them like that. And other things like get a second set of eyes. Let someone else read your work.
While this uptick is somewhat encouraging, economists at FNB say GDP growth sustainably above 3% will be needed to make a meaningful impact on employment creation. In the meantime, economic growth is expected to remain below 2% through to 2025. Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.